Week edition of Business Life. Coming up in this bulletin, Chief Executive of the Volta Aluminium Company advocates a strong aluminium manufacturing sector to serve as takeover after the commencement of the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation.
We are in the middle. We have the upstream. That is where they produce the bauxite before it's sent outside to be processed. The integrated aluminium industry that the president is pushing so hard, VACO is in the middle.
Inflation for February 2024 slows down to 23.2% as Eastern Region once again records the highest inflation rate in the country.
Over a one-year period, that is between February 2023 and February 2024, prices of goods and services have gone up by 23.2%.
Plus, today on the Joy Business Van, we will tell you how startup Emmanuela Light Amwa is helping promote Ghanaian snacks. We have details of these and many others coming your way all in a moment. Please stay on. Thanks so much for your company. I am Pius Kojobaka. We can now take a look at our stories. The Chief Executive Officer of the Volta Aluminium Company, VALCO, Titus Glover, has stated that the company will play a crucial medial role when the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation starts operations. President Akufo-Addo, during the 67th Independence Day celebration, announced two strategic partners for the operation. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Glover said there is the need for a strong aluminium manufacturing sector to operate as off-takers when GIDEC starts work.
We are in the middle. We have the upstream. That is where they produce the bauxite before it's sent outside to be processed. The integrated aluminium industry that the president is pushing so hard, VACO is in the middle. So the upstream, where you have this bauxite production, currently GIDEC, our mother company that supervises VACO, recently had an investor to partner government to process the raw bauxite into alumina. When that is done, we'll not go and ship all the way from overseas and bring the alumina here. So when it is done, it brings to VACO. That is where we use to produce the aluminium.
On to one of our headline stories. Inflation for the month of February 2024 slowed down to 23.2% from 23.5% recorded in January 2024. Now, the key drivers for the ease in inflation were alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics, as well as restaurants and accommodation services. Now, Eastern Region was once again the region with the highest rate of inflation of 36.1%. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim has been providing more details in this report.
According to figures from the Ghana Statistical Service, the non-food inflation declined to 20% in February 2024 from 20.5% in January 2024. Food inflation, however, shot up marginally to 27.1% in February 2024 from 27% in January 2024. The month-on-month inflation between January 2024 and February 2024 was 1.6%. Inflation for locally produced items in February 2024 stood at 24.6%, whilst inflation for imported items was 20.1%. Here is government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim.
In the month of February 2024, the rate of inflation stood at 23.2%. This year-on-year rate of inflation signifies that over a one-year period, that is between February 2023 and February 2024, prices of goods and services have gone up by 23.2%. This 23.2% is a reversal of the marginal increase that we recorded in the month of January 2024, when the slowdown that we had successively recorded for the last 7 months saw a marginal increase to 23.5%. In reverse, we have turned around this increase for January 2024 to a reverse of 23.2% for the month of February 2024.
Eastern Region was once again the region with the highest rate of inflation of 36.7%. OT Region, however, recorded the lowest rate of inflation of 13.1%. The Greater Accra and Ashanti regions recorded inflation rates of 13.5% and 22.2% respectively. Meanwhile, 7 divisions recorded inflation rates higher than the national average. They are alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics, restaurants and accommodation services, personal care, social protection and miscellaneous goods and services, health, food and non-alcoholic beverages, recreation, sports and culture, and furnishings, household equipment, and routine household maintenance.
And I want us to have a discussion in the back of this, and joining us to do these analysis, of course, is economist Dr. Patrick Asuming. Thanks so much, Dr. Asuming, for your time here on Business Live. Now, on the back of this, the MPC of the Bank of Ghana is expected to start meeting from next week. Do you think that a marginal drop in inflation, or as we have been told, 23.2%, gives room for a further easing of the policy rate, or you believe it must be maintained?
Good evening and good evening to our viewers. Yeah, I think the marginal drop shouldn't really affect the policy rate, because when the rate was reduced, the current rate of inflation was just about the same as we have now. I think that the initial reduction that we saw at the last meeting was a little too early. It was a little premature, I think. So I expect that having reduced it and the expected disinflation at the time has not continued. So I believe that the BOG, the MPC, will be a little cautious in bringing further reduction. So I don't expect that they will reduce it at all.
I don't know what you are learning so far in relation to the inflation figures, but do you see inflation trending upwards for March, basically, following the increase in fuel prices and the slight instability seen in the exchange rate regime over the period?
There's a strong chance that we could see an increment. I think I was actually expecting that we could have seen a marginal increment this particular reading. So it was a little bit of a pleasant surprise that it was a marginal drop instead. I think, especially from the beginning of February, we've seen some pressures begin to build. We've seen the currency fluctuate lose a little bit of ground. And then I think through the last two pricing windows, we've seen fuel prices go up. Now, because of the pass-through effect takes some time, you expect that these will take a little bit of time for us to see its impact. So there's a chance that we might see some small increment. But definitely the steady disinflation that we saw toward the end of the year, it appears that it's stalled a little bit. So on the back of all of this, I don't expect that the BOG will continue with the easing of the monetary policy rate.
Dr. Asuming, I don't know what you make of these assertions that basically there is excess money in supply, hence the rate must be tightened to mop up excess liquidity. Do you believe that?
I think probably that was truer last year than it probably is today. Because of what we learned, how much liquidity the central bank had given to the government. So when people make that argument, it's presuming that the Bank of Ghana has not been able to mop up all those additional liquidity that it pumped for the government in 2022. So there's a real chance of that. But don't forget that from the start of to up to this point, the increase in the interest rate has been really steep. The MPC has substantially raised the interest rate. So there's a sense that maybe now is the time to hold on. But when you read the inflation number, you also see that there's still problems with cost of production. When you disaggregate the inflation by locally produced and then imported, you still see that the local inflation is still high. So it just tells you that it's not just a excess liquidity issue. There are real problems with production bottlenecks in the country.
I want your view on this. What do you think could be accounting for the reason why the cedi depreciation really did not have a major impact on imported inflation, as we have been told by the Ghana Statistical Service?
Sorry, you have to repeat that last question.
All right, so I'm asking that I want your views on what basically could be accounting for the reason why the cedi's depreciation basically did not have an impact on imported food inflation, basically, as we have been told by the Ghana Statistical Service.
I think you should always expect a time lag between when the currency depreciates and the pass-through. So there are several things. One is even the timing of the depreciation relative to the timing of the measurement. So I think it's from the beginning of February that's where we really began to see the cedi lose ground. Now, my understanding is that for February inflation, the data would have been collected by the middle of the month. So the data collection takes place relatively early. So that's one part. But the way the pricing system works, it's also going to introduce additional lag, because don't forget, when the currency appreciates, it takes a little bit of time before businesses begin to reflect that in their pricing, simply because they might have had old stock that they have to get rid of. So all of those might play a role. The fact that the timing of the data collection, as well as it takes time for us to see a full pass-through effect from currency depreciation into actual prices.
I would plead with you to indulge me on this. We would like to shift focus and touch on this subject matter. We've seen cocoa prices go up on the international market in recent times. Do you foresee that the increasing revenue basically from this product as a result of the increase we are witnessing?
Probably not. So the primary reason why we've seen the increment is because there hasn't been sufficient production. There's been production shortfalls from the two major producers, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. So if we were producing a lot and the price was rising, then we see revenue gains. But our production numbers for this year is significantly lower than it was last year. So I don't think that we're going to gain much from the price increases. In any case, it's a supply-demand thing. It's because we haven't produced enough that we are beginning to see the price rises. Unfortunately, that means we are not in a good position to take advantage of the higher prices. I don't expect that there will be major uptick in our revenue from this.
I see. Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Esumin, for your time speaking to us on Business Live on inflation, of course, cocoa-related stories. Now, Cocoa Board fears the current weather condition is as a result of climate change may affect the country's cocoa production target. According to its chief executive, Joseph Boah-Inedu, the country is likely to experience a marginal change in the product quality if the challenge persists. Now, in recent times, the Ghana Meteorological Agency has warned of extreme dry weather conditions in some parts of the country. The industry has also been impacted heavily by illegal mining activities. Mr. Boah-Inedu tells Joy Business the situation calls for a strategy to reduce the impact on cocoa production.
Become very vulnerable. Cocoa doesn't lack too much rain. So when there's excessive rainfall, they stand in waterlogged soils. And by that, they cannot actually get the needed nutrition to, feed the flowers and then the showers that will come, the pulse and so on and so forth. And that affected us. Then immediately the rains were over, the harmattan came in severely. And these are all the work of El Nino, and we have had one of the severest harmattans of recent times. There too, when we have excessive harmattan, the cocoa definitely responds to that. And the effect is that you lose flowers and so on and so forth. So both ways, our cocoa farms have been affected by the extremes of the weather conditions caused by El Nino, excessive rains and then excessive dryness. And definitely it's going to affect production. But it's only come to exacerbate an existing systemic problem. Systemic problem had to do with cocoa swine-shoot virus disease. That is the main driver of the decrease of production of cocoa in Ghana.
So watching Business Live here with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We've got the business van for you right after this break. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. Hard up and looking for some money to support her education, Emmanuel Alight Amwa decided to venture into business. It was nothing sophisticated. A simple idea to make and sell the popular Ghanaian snack, kuli kuli, otherwise known as adunle. Now, it is just a part of a bigger dream to promote Ghanaian snacks. Her story on the Joy Business Van today.
Hi, Joy Business Van. My name is Emmanuel Alight Amwa and I'm the CEO for Journey Foods. Welcome to my house, which is also my temporary business
Emmanuela Light Amwa, or Ella Light, as she's popularly called, recently graduated from the University of Ghana.
I remember when I was in my final year, I needed to get some stuff urgently. I needed about 1,000 cedis in. I called home. Initially, I didn't want to call home because I knew my mommy didn't really have a solid source of income. So I was just thinking how I was going to get the money. So I just had to call her. I called home and she was like, Mama, and she went like, her response was like, oh, sweetie, and that broke me, like it really broke me, because I was like, and I know she would do everything for me. So for her to say that, like to openly tell me that, it means it was very hard for her during those
pressure on her mother.
So I remember I came home one weekend and I saw that my sister was doing adunle, and then donuts, those local snacks. So I tasted the adunle and I said, oh, this thing tastes really nice, not like the local one that we know, but I think it's advanced. It tasted so good. So I took some. Really loved it, and they were like, oh, Ella, how about you sell adunle in school? And I was like, hey, adunle is a local snack. I mean, how am I going to sell it in school?
Kuli adunle, or atipupui, depending on which part of the country you hail from, is made from peanuts or cornmeal. It is a popular snack in Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, and northern Cameroon.
Kuli is a Ghanaian local snack, and the Northerners call it kuli. The Ghans call it adunle, and the others call it atipupui. But it actually originated from the Volta region. So atipupui basically means dried stick because of the nature of the snack. This is how it looks like. It's dried and it looks like a stick. Yes, but depending on the part of the country you are, the Northerners use ground nuts and the Ghans use corn.
Having figured out an idea for packaging, Ella took her products to campus.
So I got the idea to go look for a nice paper pouch and then like this to do it. So I did, and then I took a sample to school. I took about 10, and shockingly they bought it. Like they bought it at a go, and at the time I was selling it for 5 cedis. Yeah, so they bought it, and that really encouraged me to start the business.
Ella turned the porch of her home into a production center. She shows us how production is done.
First, mix the ingredients. So we use corn flour, sugar, and salt basically. But depending on the flavor, we can add milk powder and other ingredients, other spice. Yes. So we boil the water first, and then pour the mixed ingredients in, stir it up, dry it like banku, like how the normal banku are playing, and then leave it to cool down. And after that, we roll it, knead and roll it, and to the desired shape, the atipupui, and then from there we fry.
For 10 packs, Ella is now able to do as many as 200 packs a week. The unique taste of the corn sticks, recommendations, and a boost on social media is doing the trick for the business. Keeping up with orders is now becoming a challenge.
One main challenge we are facing is with the production. Because we don't have a production space, we do it in our house, in a porch. We don't have like a place where we can do it. So it makes producing in large quantity becomes very hard, very difficult, because we now have to do everything like step by step, and then it's so tedious. And we also don't have the machines. I know we can get a machine that can make the kuli, like mold it to the desired shape we want, but because we don't have the machinery, we are not able to do the orders, and like the orders delay sometimes.
But that may change soon, as Ella started to work on a new production facility.
So as part of my plans to scale up our business, we are acquiring a new production center that will help us to move the business from our home to the production center here in Awoshi. The building is almost ready. We are just left with the interior, with the lighting, and then the painting and tiling, and that's basically what is left. And then with the glass door and the window, yeah, that's basically what is left. And then the machinery. We need funds and support from people who are interested to help or to support us. we aim to expand the business. We want it to be a global business, and we are not only looking at producing adunle, we are also looking at producing other local snacks and even juice, beverages and all of that. And we want to be the major supplier of snacks in Ghana and beyond to hospitals, hotels, restaurants, everywhere. The thing is, if you think food, you should think Johnny Foods. That's basically it. Thank you so much.
Big plans for the future. As she takes steps to go global, Ella is satisfied she's been able to start a food brand.
Now, finally, before we go, Absa Bank Ghana says it will collaborate with key stakeholders within the SME space to aid in trade facilitation for export. According to Marketing and Corporate Relations Director at Absa Bank Ghana, Nana Isofua Tamaklo, the move is to intensify efforts geared towards building the capacity of small and medium-scale enterprises. She was speaking at a media briefing on the launch of Absa Bank's new brand repositioning.
Absa Bank Ghana says its repositioned brand to the market signals a shift to being a more deliberate, customer-centric business with the new brand promise of Your Story Matters. The bank has set a clear trajectory to ensure that Absa's entire suite of services and offerings lives up to this crucial pivot towards a more human-centered, empathetic banking service across the continent.
Support to SME is our biggest claim to fame. There is no bank in this country who is offering loans at 10%. You can please check. And therefore, the story to grow with our SMEs is as big as ever. We are still lending to our SME sector at 10% because we want to support this sector. It's the engine behind our economy, and therefore it's very important to us. And also, the fact that we want to continue empowering that sector is one of the reasons why we are supporting women-led businesses. And not just that, agribusiness, fintech, and young entrepreneurs. It does not matter the gender, because we see a lot of young people who are going into entrepreneurship. And so we have actually carved this out, and we are not doing this alone. We are doing this in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation. And it's given us a lot of leverage to lend, in astronomical numbers, to the sector. And we will be doing that throughout the year.
The bank says its financial literacy project and ready-to-work programs will continue to ensure that their customers and users are supported with knowledge in order to be informed.
Thanks so much for being part of Business Live for today. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. There you go, great stories on that portal. Do visit there. See you same time tomorrow. I leave you with commodities updates.